Today it's time to take a closer look at my favorite amp model in the AxeFx 3. As you may know, I like high-gain shred guitar tones, and most of the time I'm playing with my Fractal Audio AxeFx 3, and I'm using the Atomica high amp model a lot. It's my favorite amp model at the moment. And of course, as always, I would like to share my deepest thoughts with all of you beautiful ladies. So today we will have a closer look at my patch with the Atomica high amp model. And as you can see here, I open the AxeFx editor, and my scene number 1 is my rhythm scene, which is basically the amp and the cap. With a little bit of detuning and a little bit of reverb. Also multiband compression and parametric EQing, but I will come to that in a second. So what is the amp? As I said before, it's the Atomica high amp model. And the cap block, I'm using a 4x12 recto standard mic with an SM57 by York Audio. It's a stock cap, stock IR, as you can see here. No high cut, set a low cut at 94 Hz. And also my little trick is to set the smoothing parameter somewhere around 1 o'clock. And that is basically something that is, solving the problem of phasing issues. Some of the IRs, or most of them, seem to have some some spikes and also some frequencies where they have a little bit of a phasing going on, so you can smooth that out with this parameter. So that is what I'm doing in the cap block usually. That goes for all of my patches. I'm using a little bit of a detuning effect for the kind of 80s rhythm tone. Also, I keep this turned on in most of my high gain tones, but of course I can turn it off now just to show you how it sounds without this effect. Well, and I have a parametric EQ here, but as you can see, it doesn't do that much. This is my basically my EQ that I'm using for live applications. When I have to adjust my overall sound a little bit to the environment, but as you can see here, it's at the moment it's set flat. A little bit of reverb, which I like to add when I'm playing by myself. Usually when I'm playing live, I turn the reverb off in most applications. And I got a little bit of multiband compression. I explained that in another video where I'm basically addressing the lower mids here, the band between 90 Hz and 350 Hz. That it reduces these frequencies a little bit when I'm chugging. So as you can see, when I'm playing chords or higher notes, doesn't do anything, but as soon as I chug, the signal gets reduced a little bit, at least in this frequency range. But it doesn't do that much to the tone, just addresses this problem, especially when live playing, that you don't get the flubbiness as soon as you start to chug. You don't want the room to be shaking each time you play an A, and if you play a C, suddenly it sounds thinner. That is so you can get rid of these unwanted lower mid-range frequencies when chugging with this multiband compression. But of course, today I would like to talk about the amp. And I found out the Atomica high amp model is something which is based on a kind of a modified Marshall, I think. It sounds pretty much like a high gain Marshall, but it sounds also very harmonic in my opinion. So it doesn't have these. Sometimes the high gain Marshalls like the JVM, you can see there behind me, they seem to have a little bit of harshness in the top end, and also they're a little bit annoying, at least in my ears, in the presence frequencies, but the Atomica high amp model doesn't have that at all. So these are my settings here, and as you can see, I'm also using the input boost. So I will turn it off now just to show you the amp sound without the input boost. And that sounds to me like the perfect JCM 800 sound. Not too much of these upper mid-range punch. So just without the input boost, it can deliver solid crunch tones. Also, you could reduce the gain a little bit more. You can see it's a very dynamic amp, yeah. Almost cleanish if you're picking very light. We're playing with more power. There you get the distortion. I could also reduce it way more, then got a nice actual breakup sound. That is something which is very important to me, especially in a live application, that you can use the same amp model but with different gain stages and different gain settings, because I found it to be very important that you don't change your tone in a live situation very drastically. If you change your tone drastically, then the front of house engineer will get problems. So I like to use kind of the same amp, the same cap for all of my sounds, just with different amounts of gain. And some amps, they change their character, maybe their frequencies are just differently when reducing the gain, but with this amp it's just, in my opinion, it's usable with every gain setting. So I definitely recommend to try out this amp model with different gain settings. And of course, as I am a high gain guitar player, I like to boost my amps with a pedal. The reason for that is you can get more saturation out of the amp, but if you do it with a boost pedal, like in this case, as you can see here, I'm using the full tone overdrive boost type, and with the boost pedal, mostly the mid frequencies are boosted and not the bass and the treble frequencies. They are reduced a little bit, so you don't get flubbiness, you don't get harshness, but just more saturation out of the amp. So my high gain tones, I like to use the full tone OD in this case. Also, you could do it with a Tube Screamer 808. It has a little bit more of the around 800 Hz boost. As a full tone OD, my opinion, has a little bit more of a low mid-range boost. maybe around 300 or 400 Hertz. But with that amp model, I like the Full-Tone OD way more. As you can see here, of course, I have quite a high boost level, around 12 dB. That depends on your pickups and your guitar. By the way, I'm using my Harley Benton Fusion 2 model with the HSH configuration, Roswell humbuckers, everything stock, ebony fretboard, Sapele body, Wilkinson bridge. And now I'm playing on the bridge pickup, full humbucker mode. So the patch is maybe adjusted to this guitar, to my Fusion guitars. And as you can see, in my live, in my scene 2, it's my lead tone. Basically the same tone that I have in the scene 1, my rhythm tone, just a little bit louder, about 2 dB louder, which is the number which seems to be working for me live. With my front of house engineer, he told me maybe boost the overall level about 2 or maximum 3 dB when going from rhythm to lead, otherwise you will get problems. So I'm sticking always with that, boosting about 2 dB. And yeah, using the Full-Tone OD model here in the boost section. And also something which you can do in the AxeFx, you have a dedicated input EQ built in the amp block. Of course you can do this with other models too, by just putting a parametric EQ in front of the amp. As you can see here, I'm boosting a little bit around the 1.6K, 1.5K, and yes, I'm applying high cut and the low cut, but that is, of course, the input EQ is affecting the guitar signal before it hits the input stage of the amp. So this is something which I do with the Roswell humbuckers here, because I found them to be a little bit weak if I don't boost these some mid frequencies, and also a little bit harsh. So I'm always cutting the higher frequencies, but that is something which is also depending on your pickups and your overall guitar tone. Of course, I can show you how it sounds without these input EQ. Has a little bit too much bass for me. Maybe I can set the low cut again. And in the input EQ, it's also okay if you set it drastically, because it doesn't affect the overall tone. It's just the input signal of the guitar. And if you also if you set it high here to about 250 Hertz, you will get some of these bass frequencies back later in the power amp section of the amp. So it's still the bass frequencies are there. So it sounds also good to me, but it well, it doesn't have this little bit upper mid-range punch which I like. I don't like too much of that, but I found this sound to be work great in a live situation, cut through a mix, but it's not harsh in the top end, so it doesn't pierce the eardrums of your audience. And yeah, these are the magic settings for me with this amp model, but as you could hear, when I turn it off, it's also working without these settings, so they are not important. The amp by itself with this cabinet sounds great. And yeah, I definitely recommend this amp model to try it out. And yeah, well, I hope these little insights will help you to get the best sound out of your Atomica High patch. And yeah, please post your comments below and give me a thumbs up or subscribe to the channel. See you soon. Bye.